Here we go. All right. All righty. Paradigm Shifters. Yeah, another week. I love it. Wow. Welcome to Paradigm Shifters. We are a group, a global community of shifters and uplifters. And as of this morning, March 30th, 2021, drum roll please, we are at 882 members. You believe it? And from over 26 countries. And knowing that we're a global community, we're here to shift and uplift. So I am so excited to have this boom divine ideal. Well, I was out kayaking with Karen. That what if we had a topic and I brought in people from all different doctors and people who are passionate about youth, a mama, a fully alive in 75, and and then a super longevity queen here. And what if we all had the topic of acceptance, forgiveness, and the blessings? My quick story about that was, for the acceptance that real quick, I have a big tree in my backyard. It's a pear tree, and it was covered with grapevines, just eating alive. And the grapevines kept it alive during our ice storm. So I went out, and it's killing the pear tree, and I had to forgive the grapevines for being there. And then I cut them all off, and just today, the pear tree is coming out and fully alive, which is a blessing. So you don't know what season it is, what season of your life. So without further ado, our first dynamo is fully alive at 75. Carol Pitner. Come on, Carol. Yay!
Hello, Judy. Hello, everybody. My name is Carol Pitner, and I am from Chowchilla, California. And this was a very interesting topic for me because there are several different branches to it. It's like a tree full of all kinds of branches with different ideas and different aspects of forgiveness. The one I chose for me was in 2016, I was diagnosed with a condition, which I will not name, and it kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting it at all. I never saw it coming, and I chose, by talking to my body, that I was going to go through Western medicine treatment, which I did. So I accepted that I had it. But what was interesting was going through the treatment, I realized that I had been asking God to go deeper in my work. And the universe answered me by saying, you'll go deeper in your work when you go deeper within. And so it dawned on me that I had been doing so much work on myself, working through emotion and working through different things in my life. And I had gotten to a point where it became so dense and so hard and concrete within me that it was almost impossible for me to imagine connecting to it, much less getting rid of it. And it dawned on me that the chemotherapy and the radiation I went through were like dynamite that blasted all of that concrete stuck stuff that I couldn't get to anymore on the surface. It was just superficial that I had done. So I was able to look at how I created the condition within myself. And so I started picturing our body as parts of us getting gnarly and entangled. And so I started calling them hairballs. And I said, you've got a hairball, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor listens to your symptoms and he puts a name to your hairball. And if you come in with other symptoms, you've got another hairball. So when I looked at it that way, I realized that when we hold emotions and we hold feelings and we hold perceptions and resentments, they just intertwine within us to the point where, like you were talking about the ivy with your tree, can't get through. It just starts choking off the branches of the tree. So going through that, I did my Eastern stuff too, as well as Western. So I did all of my energy work, did my classes, kept putting one step forward, and things just really started changing. And so looking at it that way, now I feel like I forgave myself, number one, for creating it, because everything I had gone through brought me to that place. I was still alive, right? So there was still stuff I could do. And so for that, I forgave myself for what I created. And the blessing out of it was that by letting that go, I opened myself up to spaces that had room for new growth and for new ideas and things to come in. So that was my blessing through it all.
Oh, thank you so much, Carol. Aw, yeah, yeah. All right. And next in line, we have a mama and one of my colleagues from Chicago, Illinois, Erika Fay. Welcome, Erika. Welcome to Paradigm Shifters.
Thank you. And thanks to Carol. That was powerful. I really appreciated that share and really spoke to my heart. So thank you. So yeah, I mean, my story about acceptance, forgiveness, and blessings is all rooted in my dream. And my dream ever since I was a little girl was to be a mom. And I had this vision of how it would occur. And I wanted to have a partner to raise the child with. Many of my highly successful female friends were doing the fertility stuff on their own. And that just didn't seem to resonate with me. So I, was really just holding that vision. And I had a long-term boyfriend in my 30s that ended in mid 30s. And I was heartbroken because I felt like my dream of having the baby was slipping away. And one of the things that I was really practicing with was not becoming bitter because I couldn't see the path for how it was going to happen, and had to continue to work with the desires of my heart and holding the image. I kept going back to the image of me rocking a baby at night and in the morning and feeling the feelings and holding that image. And about 2 years before I actually wound up getting pregnant, because spoiler alert, you all know I have a baby. I actually said a prayer. I said, God, the desires of my heart, and I would love to birth a baby. I was a therapist before I became a coach. And so I had been working with, understanding transformational principles and how everything worked. And I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to just be a mother to somebody else's children, or maybe I'm supposed to kind of be motherly to my clients. And I just said this prayer, and really it was an acceptance prayer that I just released it to God. And I said, if this is not for me, please redirect my energy. And if it is for me, help me to maintain the faith. And I just kind of released it. And one of the things that I thought about with the forgiveness piece in all of this is, up until now, I have had a tendency to really see a path and I'm doing this. I go into this force, I'm an athlete. So I'm nope, this is the training plan and this is what you do and you follow it. And so I have a tendency up until now to really try to do things on my own and not to partner with God, my higher power. And had to get into some forgiveness work for myself and the fractured relationships or the, disappointment that I had with, a love relationship not working out and me not seeing a path. So really when all of that, and this wasn't just a one and done thing, like continuing to practice the forgiveness of myself and continuing to work on the acceptance and release, like, nope, I released it. I remember I was actually in Austin, Texas with some of my high school girlfriends. It was November of 2018. And all my girlfriends, we were on our 45th, because we had just turned 45. We were on our 45th year, like, celebration trip. And one of my friends said to me in front of all the girls, she said, "Erika, are you still planning on having a baby?" And I just didn't want to get into it. And what wound up coming out of my mouth was, "Me and God have it figured out." What I found out when I got home from that trip was that I was pregnant, and I did not know. And I gave birth to the blessing of my life, my little Liam, when I was 46. And he's a blessing. He's definitely growing me. I never knew that I would be tested in certain ways that I am being tested, especially with that part of me that wants to be very like, yep, we do this. I've had to release some of that. And so this whole parenting journey for me has really been a lesson in acceptance and forgiveness and blessings. So that is my story.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's the Austin water, right? Yeah. No. No, just kidding. Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, Erika. Wow.
You're
And
welcome.
next we have Sue. Come on, Sue Keiper
Hey.
from Suzanne from
I am
Virginia.
Suzanne Keiper from
Yeah.
Ashburn, Virginia. And I'm going to tell you a story of when I was 3. And I so wanted to be a blessing, to please. And at 3, my dad asked my older brother, who was 10 years older than me, to go get him a cup of coffee. And I said, "I'll get it, Daddy." And way back then, there was no such thing as a Keurig coffee pot. It was one of those percolator pots that was on the stove, and it was hot. And I grabbed the coffee pot and dumped it down the front of me. It hurt. And my parents did the only thing that they knew at the time, which wasn't the right thing, but they did what they knew. They put Crisco on the burn to keep it moist. So when they got me to the hospital, the doctors and the nurses had to clean me off. And my mom, in doing what she knew, was to say, "Hold still, it won't hurt." Well, that wasn't true. It wasn't true in the least bit. And so for a 3-year-old, I fought off, if I remember correctly, 2, if not 3 nurses and a doctor, and wasn't going to let them touch me. I was quite strong at 3. And but finally, a nurse stood in front of my mother and said, "You need to tell her the truth." And she did. And so she said, "It's going to hurt, but you still need to hold still." So they gently took the time to do the work they could. If it was too much, they waited a minute, let the pain recede, and then they'd work again, and they finally got it all cleaned off. And there's a myriad of things in here, but part of the acceptance for me was accepting my parents they didn't have the knowledge that we do now. They didn't have the understanding. They did the best they could with what they had. And including Mom saying what she did of, "It's hold still, it won't hurt." It wasn't true, but she did what she could. So there was forgiveness in that of her lying to me. She didn't know anything else, and the blessing in this is she prayed so much while I was in that hospital, and I had bandages on my face and on my chest and stomach, and there's been no plastic surgery done on me, and you can't tell which side of my face was burnt. So when that scab came off, it was clean and clear, and that is a huge blessing, huge, huge blessing. And one of the other blessings for me is that I more so now I seek the truth. And I'm sure I drove my parents nuts with that, because I wanted to know what they were telling me was true. but I seek truth. And that's why I became a life coach, so that I can help others to find the truth and find what's best for them. So that's my story.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Wow. Whew. Okay, and next we have Dr. Manginelli. Dr. Ann Manginelli. And I love calling you doctor because
Thank
that's
you.
been very recent.
Yes.
Come on in
Yes.
from Tennessee. Yeah.
And so Dr. Manginelli from Cookeville, Tennessee. I'm currently in my office at work right now. So my story of acceptance, forgiveness, and blessing is directly connected with the title doctor. So in May, June, I don't remember the exact date, but in May or June of 2019, or 2020, sorry, I was trying to finish up my doctorate. And I was struggling so hard. I was up against a deadline or a time limit for the graduate school. So there was a little bit of pressure with that deadline. And I was just in a place where I can remember talking to Judy at one point during that and saying, I'm stuck. I'm just stuck. And struggling. And at that time, my husband had cancer after a very, very fierce, but short battle, had passed away. I had lost my friend and mentor who was in Haiti at the time, who we shared research interests. He had died of COVID. And I just was not in a good place at that time. So I had decided, even though I had promised my husband before he died that I would finish this, I decided I was done. I was done. I couldn't do it. And I went to bed thinking and saying to God, to the divine, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm writing my dissertation chair a letter. And I'm just telling her, I'm done. I can't finish. And went to sleep, and I actually had the best night's sleep I'd had in months. Woke up that next morning and immediately had an idea and another idea, and just grabbed paper and pen and started writing, and wrote out about 3 pages of what would become the dissertation. So I was like, oh, well, I guess the universe or the divine or God, whatever you want to call it, is not done with me yet. So instead of sending my professor the email that says, I'm done, I'm walking away, I said, here's where I am, here's what's going on, but I have an idea and I think I have a plan in place. So give me some time and I'll send you what I have. So the acceptance piece of that, and I eventually finished, although I did struggle some in the months that passed. The acceptance piece was I really had to just accept where I was in the fact that my husband was gone, my friend and mentor was gone, my research, the path that I wanted to go was taken away from me by COVID, by violence in Haiti. So I had to just accept that was what it was, and let go of the hold I had on what I had wanted to be that was not going to be. So I had to accept that. The forgiveness piece of that is I had to forgive myself first, because, I had a lot of, well, if I hadn't taken time to do this, and if I hadn't done this, and, some of that kind of beating myself up. But I also had to not only forgive myself, but I had to forgive my husband and my mentor for leaving me because I felt abandoned, which sounds crazy because, I mean, I don't think either of them would have wanted to leave, but I resented the fact that they had left me. So I had to forgive them and me for that. And then the blessing was I did actually finish. I did complete my doctorate. It was nothing like what I had planned, but in so many ways, it was even better than what I had planned and what I had in mind. So I did finish, and that process was successful. So so that's my acceptance, forgiveness, and blessing. So,
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, and I will always remember you reading the dedication to me,
yeah,
which was so powerful.
that's probably my proudest part of the whole thing was that dedication, and it came out almost exactly as it was. That was the one piece of it that was so easy to write.
Mm,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Anne. Dr. Manginelli. I love saying that. And I love being there in that moment too. It's so powerful. All right. And then the next one is my buddy. All of you are my buddies. But Karen Beard, who has a different type of twist on acceptance, forgiveness, and blessings. So come on in here, Karen.
Hi, everybody.
Here,
Thank
so.
you for. Can you hear me?
You bet. Loud and clear from Texas.
Okay, good. My name is Karen, and I'm from Round Rock, Texas, outside of Austin. And I want to share a story that's hot off the press. It's something that happened to me yesterday. I got really upset. I talked to the loan people on my car loan because I noticed I had been paying extra for months, and the amount shown on the statement wasn't going down as much as I thought it should. So I called them and got this guy finally, and he said, we don't apply the extra money to your principal unless you ask. And I just got crazy upset. It's like, what? What are you doing with the money? Are you just sitting on it? Anyway, so I got really upset, and I said, I've been paying for months extra money. And he did agree to transfer some of the money. I decided it wasn't enough when I got off the phone, and I was still upset for a time. And I tried to do something outside. The neighbor's dog was barking because I know when I'm in a bad place, everything around me goes haywire. So this morning, I was thinking about that, and I realized that I had been in this place where I was right and they were wrong. So do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? So my acceptance is that they're just doing it a different way. I need to accept my belief system, and their belief system is different than mine. The forgiveness, I need to forgive myself for getting upset. I need to forgive them for having a different way of doing things than I do it. And the blessing, $5,000 got transferred to my loan. So I owe $5,000 less on it. And when I call them again, I'm going to be in a totally different place, asking for what I feel I'm owed without having this judgment hanging over me that you're doing it wrong. So it's kind of a work in progress, But I know I'm thanking God for learning this and seeing it. I'm praying for them and myself, and I'm expecting more blessings to be coming. So that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. Amen, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Wow. Well, so let's take a breath of fresh air right now. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. Man, we've heard so many stories, 5 different stories, and I'm just totally in awe of all the courageous people that we've had today. You know, Carol and Erika and Susan and Anne and Karen, and that there's something within there, something there that we know touched your hearts. So I think I'm going to open it up to the people on the panel to come on in here, and maybe what is it that you got from another person's story? And let's just banter around for a couple minutes. And then I'm going to take the recording off, and then we'll even banter on some more. But I just thought like we would tie this bow around this gift, because each one of you is a gift, and you have a gift from your stories. So let's unwrap some gifts. And I'm going to ask the people who are just on the panel to come on in and say something that you've learned from another story. Carol, I see you unmuted yourself. Come on in.
Well, I could hear parts of my story in every other story that came up. And Sue's really gripped me because I don't remember much of my childhood. And so what got me was the idea that we can forgive our parents knowing that they did the best that they did. So any perceptions that we might hold or any resentments of what happened in our childhood, to just know that they did the best they could. If they had known any better, they would have done it differently. So that was a big aha for me to hear that. And I really liked Karen's story because so many times we think we know the side of a contract, and the other people, the people you're signing the contract with, they have an idea or it's in there of what it is, and it just gets confusing sometimes. And I just love the story about what was her name? The mother? Erika. I really enjoyed her story. Yes, because I'm the way that she is too. I'm at one end of the pendulum or I'm at the other, and there's no gray in between. So I really appreciated each and every one of their stories. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Carol. Who else wants to come in? Hi, Erika. Come on in.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, it's just always such an honor to witness people's lives and what you choose to do in the midst of circumstances. And so, I was kind of popping around thinking like, gosh, whose story resonated with me the most? But I have to agree. I think every single story was so powerful. And just kind of as Carol was saying, like we all have an opportunity for a choice in the circumstances that we are dealt. And many of them we would not choose, but we can choose to have them grow us. And I just thought that was powerful to hear how everybody chose growth.
I love it. And I just love watching you with little Liam. And he is the cutest little bugger.
Thank you.
And all the different things that you're choosing to stay healthy and do with him. So
thank you.
Mama in the house. I was like my Nana stuff going on. And you must have a power. I'm just saying that I don't know your mom, but she's probably my age, and so proud of you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's a good one. That's for sure.
I bet. Yeah. Anyone else want to come in here on the panel? Bill, we're going to take the people on the panel first, Bill, and then we're going to take the recording off, okay? So how about it? Anne, you want to come on in here?
Sure. Two things that I think are really huge in everybody's stories that I noticed was first, I think the first and maybe even the most important part of forgiveness is self-forgiveness. We have to forgive ourselves for wherever we are or our impressions about things or those kind of situations. That's the first piece. If we can't forgive ourselves, then we really are not in a position to start to forgive others. And the undercurrent in everybody's story, there's some element of having to release your grasp or your idea of control of the situation. You know, parts of my story I felt like were out of my control, and I'm big on plans ABC through Z and having backups for those plans. So the illusion of control has been something I have clutched onto for years. And I was presented with situations that I had very little control, and I didn't choose those situations. And so that was a huge element. And that I think is a huge element of all of our stories when we begin to accept and forgive ourselves and release control. So,
Oh, amen. Amen. Wow. Well, I'm going to click off this and we're going to keep this ball rolling. The Paradigm Shifters is going to be on there. And I just want to totally command you to check out each one of these that's on the page, each one of these beautiful light beings. And if any one of their stories touched your heart, get in contact with them. Ask them more. Because this is the important part of them even coming and shining their lights. Each one is a point of light. And whatever it is that trickled in from you, reach out. Yeah, totally reach out. That's what we're here for, to shift and uplift. And remember, we can't go back and have a new beginning, but we can start right now and have a brand new ending. All righty, till next week.